Hi, I'm Melanie Barnett. I am going to show you today how to make a hospital surgical gown that is waterproof. This would be the front, and this is the back where all of the openings are. And we are going to be going over the instructions that you hopefully received, but if you didn't, we're still going to go through all of these so you don't need this to work on the hospital gown except for the dimensions. Now the first thing that you're going to need are the pattern pieces. The first one is the gown body. This is the front and the back. It looks a little strange if you have done sewing before. It's going to be put together just a little bit differently than what you're used to. So that's why the instructions. So this would be the front of the gown, and when you received it, it was folded in half. This is for the arm, and then the opening again at the back. The second piece that you received with your pattern is the sleeve. The sleeves are cut like a V, with the wrist being the small part, and the top is wider. But for this pattern, the seam will run along the top of the arm like this. The other thing that you will need, and hopefully you are provided with if you are volunteering, is bias tape. This one is a double fold bias tape. Double fold is easiest to work with, but it is also possible to do it with the thinner kind. With that, let's get started. So the fabric that you will have received is waterproof. The waterproof side needs to be out. It's actually smoother, and the inside you can see the grains. It's more scratchy. This is the inside or the wrong side of the fabric. So today, for all of our surgical needs, we're going to have to sew with the waterproof side as the right side or the outside, so when we put right sides together. For the thumb loops, we're going to make two 4-inch pieces of this wider bias tape. Now I've already sewn it, but we need to sew it closed so that it makes a nice loop. I'm going to set these aside for just a minute, and we're going to go ahead and hem with this is the bottom of the sleeve. We're going to go ahead and hem it. Now remember, the inside is a little scratchier, and do not pin waterproof fabric because any holes in it will cause leakage, and that's the whole point of having a waterproof surgical gown, so that it protects the doctors. So we're going to go ahead and hem this, just a small hem. I'm using the edge of my presser foot as my guide for all of the sewing hems, all of the seams, excuse me, today, just to make a small seam. We're going to just go ahead and hem this on both sleeves. All right, so here's our little seam. We're going to fold it with the outside, obviously outside, and make a little mark with a pencil on the center, and then open it up, and there's just a little faint line in the middle. We're going to do that with both of our our wrist seams. And with this small mark, we're going to put the bias tape that we've just sewn, the 4 inches of bias tape on either side. This will create the thumb loop. Now remember, please don't pin if you can avoid it. So here's our pencil mark right here. We're going to go ahead and sew back stitch all the way through it, just to ensure that it stays very secure for the thumb loop on both sleeves. Okay, and here is our second one. Again, back stitch across the whole thing just to make it nice and secure. Okay, so now that we've got our sleeve hemmed and we've got our thumb hole attached, our thumb loop attached, we're going to take our sleeve piece and attach it to the body of the robe. We're on step 3 if you're following along in your instructions. The easiest way to apply the sleeves or to attach the sleeves to the armhole is to put the straight edge on the bottom, because a straight edge to a curved edge is more difficult. You need to make sure that your waterproof side is with the waterproof side. Again, just a reminder there. Okay, so now with our sleeves attached, we are ready to attach the top shoulder seam. So if you look at your pattern piece, there's a little bit of a jag right here, a little tiny bit of a point. That is where you're going to meet them up. And if you're not quite sure, attach with your shoulder seams in the same spot together. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sew this shoulder seam that will continue and extend all the way to the wrist, all the way down the sleeve. Okay. So what I'm doing here is just leveling off this sleeve so that the seam is nice and smooth on the top. Okay, now if your gown does not look like this, reevaluate. It should look just like this. If you notice, the front is solid, the back is open. And since these are actually reusable, which makes me really happy that they're going to just wash and reuse these, because it is a lot of work and a lot of resources. So we're going to hem the back. And so we're going to make a long seam, just going straight down, straight across the bottom, and then straight back up the side. One continuous seam to get it all hemmed. Make sure, again, you don't pin if you don't have to. Please avoid pinning if you possibly can. And just make a narrow hem. It doesn't need to be very big, just enough to keep the raw edges from fraying when it's washed. All right, the next thing that we are going to do is step 5, neck ties and finishing the neck edge. So to finish the neck edge, we have our bias tape. You're going to cut 38 inches, and the first 9 inches we're going to go ahead and sew closed first. So measure up 9 inches and mark it, just a little light mark with your pencil. Here's the 9 inches we just sewed, and we're going to insert the right side of the back of the neck seam right here where we just sewed. It's going to fit right in. It's nice stiff fabric, and we're going to continue to sew along the neck seam. as slowly as you need to, because again, a curved edge is not easy. We're actually working from the opposite side with our fabric going under the arm of the machine. Now here we're approaching the second shoulder seam. We're going to angle off right after that shoulder seam. So we're going to go past the shoulder seam and then angle off. From here, we're going to continue to sew this closed. There should be about 9 inches. Oh, there's 8 because I went a little bit farther, and that's okay. They need to be able to tie the neck closed. So this is what we just sewed along the top neck edge and angled it off after the shoulder seam. I just wanted to show you so that you can see, because it feels a little bit weird when you're reading the instructions. In the back, it's going to tie like this. It's going to overlap a little and tie, if that helps give you a visual. And this is the back of the gown. Now that we've got our gown ready, we're going to lay it again still inside out, and we're going to measure on the back side. We're going to measure down 20 inches from the back center seam. So here's our 20 inches right here. We're going to make a little mark at 20 inches. Then on the outside, we're going to measure down 20 inches. But we're going to go inside. We're going to try to get it 20 inches down from this tie. I'm going to do another little mark. Again, this is the outside, so that when they attach, they can tie the 2 strings together. For the ties, cut 12 to 14 inch strips of the bias tape and sew them closed. Okay, we're working again on the inside. Here's our inside back seam. Here's our 20-inch down mark, and we're going to go ahead and put our bias tape strap right here. When we're attaching a strap, it is a stress seam, so I'm going to go ahead and back stitch over it a couple of times. So now working on the outside, where we put the other 20-inch mark, 20-inch down, and just a little bit in. Let's see how many inches in. Roughly 7-8 inches in. We're going to put the other strap. we're done, we're going to turn it inside out. Let's turn it inside out and see what it looks like, so you get a good visual of your work. Here's our thumb holes, thumb loops. And if we put it together, there's the ties at the top and the ties at the back on the bottom. If you have any questions, then leave me a comment and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Good job.